Jared, thanks a lot for joining us. I know you've been doing some pretty cool stuff on B2B, especially on the social side, and I'd love to hear your insights. But for the audience, can you give a brief introduction, who you are, what you've been doing, and who you work with?
I guess we'll start at the beginning. We'll give a little bit of kind of what we were discussing off camera. So the idea is that I started in music, and with music, there was a lot of potential creativity because I'm a creative person. But at some point, I kind of realized that the artists don't really pay on time. So I started doing the same social media marketing I would for them, but instead for brands. I started with basics. So we'll say, creating Facebook pages, MySpace pages, because it goes back that far, and things of that nature, just getting them kind of set, because a lot of people even now are like, they don't know how to set up their social. So it was very initially like easy posting for them, nothing like Facebook ads is now. So that sort of came later when Facebook made Facebook ads and some of these other like Twitter ads, etc. Then it was like, oh wow, there's actually a way to monetize this in a much broader spectrum and bring people leads. To which I would say probably around 2010, I think would be when I started switching into more of like, we'll call traditional social media marketing like nowadays. But really the last 2 years has been a lot of B2B focus because we merged Bill Casocon PR, which was my wife's PR company, with my social media company. And then we merged all of that with Eyefuel, which is our parent company, and they do physical branding. So we were basically now the social media marketing and PR arm of eyefuel.com, and we have eyefuelpr.com. So we have them separate for if someone wants branding and physical marketing. My partner Joe and his company on that side would handle it, and we do more of the digital. But because of this merger and because we added a lot of people on the team, Jason's like our website guy, Nathan, we have a Facebook ads expert, we have a couple other people who do specific things. By adding these product sets, we were able to bring more B2B in the house because they saw that we could do multiple things for them rather than just do something like an influencer wants, which is just, hey, get me followers and monetize it. So B2B, now we can do campaigns, focused, actually drive real leads or brand awareness depending what they're looking for, and then facilitate customized plans, whereas before it was a little more, less a la carte.
Was that strategically you thought about, we need to add these things to become something much bigger than we were before and differentiate ourselves?
I think our actual evolution is, you kind of hit it on the head, which is that we've actually always looked at how we can be just a little more strategic specifically. So I'll give you an example. And for anyone who does watch this, they probably have heard at some point in their life about like botting on Instagram, where people would like follow and unfollow and do these things. Well, I will not say that we didn't do, we did the botting with everyone else for a while. But what we did was we actually realized when you looked across the spectrum of people who would do this, it was very one note. It was like, hey, what's your Instagram name? Pay me $30 a month. I'll throw you in this bot, and never do anything strategic. So what we actually did was we said, well, we have the bots. We can do the same thing that guy can. But why don't we actually look at the person's account and do like a real analysis of like what they can do better with their bio, what they can do better with hashtags. Are they using hashtags? Are they using enough? Putting together hashtag sets that were customized for their brand, and then even giving them sort of feedback on their content. And by doing this, we started sort of differentiating away from I'll say the Instagram bot crowd, and we had more people that would, one, pay us more than the other person because we were giving them more value, but two, started realizing like this strategy is really where the money is. And not to do it for the money, but because you're transferring real value by giving strategic information to somebody, it allowed us to sort of move into higher and higher brands and bigger clients who no longer wanted to say, just throw me in a bot. And for the record, anyone who's thinking that bots are dead, like you can't use them anymore anyway. But the idea is you could take something as sort of basic as that, and by actually giving someone value on top of it, get someone to pay you 3 or 4x what the other is, because they're now thinking, all right, I'm gonna grow, but what do I do with the followers you're getting me? And that was where we started saying, hey, we can help you with that. And slowly but surely moving into other mediums, again, Facebook ads, Twitter ads, funnels, website design, SEO. Now, again, if someone goes on our website, we have tons of plans and different packages. So just that natural evolution of adding strategy on top of anything seemed to really help us get to the B2B level.
I'm very interested in the evolution, but also in the service that you offer, so we'll tackle both. On the evolution side, when you start adding more services, how do you get that credibility? Because you go and sell to a company and you didn't have that service a month ago. So you have no validation, you have no proof that you can deliver something. How do you sell that?
Great question. Well, first of all, you better be good at sales, good communication, but that's just basic. I guess you would say a credibility thing would be the idea that depending on what we're selling, a lot of times we use our own services within our company. I will say we are guilty of not using all of them. Sometimes it's just you can't take all your work home with you type of thing. But so I think a great example would be when we first added SEO to the website, a lot of people actually asked us, like, can you give us an example of SEO? To which we would actually screenshot their own thing and say, look, you found us on Google. And then they would say, yeah, it wasn't an ad. I was like, so you know our SEO works. So would you like us to do it for you? So in some aspects, a lot of times is before we would release a product, we would essentially run it on our own things to, whether it's our website or our own Instagram or Facebook, to kind of test how we were gonna do it. Or for instance, I'll give you an example. When we first brought Nathan in, it was the idea of, look, I can do Facebook ads and I have other people that could do them, but he was recommended by someone as really good. I had him run one set for a client at a discounted rate, and he did excellent work. And then it was, all right, from here on out, like, we want to offer this to more and more people on a higher level than before. Before it was kind of like, it wasn't on the site, but if someone was like, I need Facebook ads, we're like, oh, we could do that too. Once we knew we had someone who could do this consistently, and that was like their role, then it was, let's put it on the site. So I will say it's hard to get credibility overall, but I think the best notion is that if you just have referrals from the people you're working with, then slowly but surely other people, they kind of just say, all right, well, if so-and-so is using you for X, then if you have Y also listed on your website, you probably are also good at Y, correct? And then of course, if we deliver, then that's another person who will kind of mention it. I'd say we probably get about roughly 60% of our business from referrals, and the other 40% roughly from Google, with like a sprinkle of whatever else we feel like doing occasionally.
So for the referrals, how do you ask for referrals? How do you get them?
So we actually have an affiliate program built into our brand. So there's sort of two aspects of referrals. One would be just the natural, like if I did some work for you and you said it was excellent, of course we would just say, hey, if you know anybody and you recommend them, we'll give you something for the recommendation. But the affiliate program allows us, so if the same scenario, you bought something on our site or someone through our company initially, and then you checked out on the site, you actually are immediately given an affiliate link in our back end. So now, if you do know somebody and they go through you, you can literally just give them that link. And then if they end up buying every month, we'll just cut you a percentage of what they're spending with us. So if it's a monthly recurring, then you'd get something there. If it's a one-time, you'd obviously only get something one time. But so we try to incentivize it that way. And then of course, the other is just asking for referrals. If someone says, that was awesome, like, I'm happy you're happy. Do you think there's anyone else we can help make happy?
What works for B2B, especially in social media? Because is it LinkedIn? Is it Instagram, Twitter, Facebook? Where would you go and what would you do? Is it ads, organic content?
I think first, it would always be goal-based. So what the brand is trying to do. For lead generation, and again, also depending on the niche, I think Instagram is great for lead gen because Instagram only has the one link in your bio, right? So it's not cluttered. It's not like, so with Facebook, you can put a link in every post, right? It could be good because you can put more things out, but it also can be a lot. Instagram, if you are very niche focused, so let's say if you're Nike and you only have shoes for the most part on your thing, let's say, I know they have other clothes, but let's say right now it's like shoes are their thing. And the link in their bio is only based on that. Or if you're Nike now, you can have the shop as well. It's very easy for lead gen with Instagram because Instagram's core value is content. It always was like, you take a photo, you shared it with the world. So when you're a brand, the main thing you're doing in advertising is you're sharing content. So unlike, let's say, Facebook, Twitter, I won't say YouTube because YouTube is always content-based too, but just video. It kind of makes sense Instagram-wise where when you're scrolling through your feed, if you see content, it doesn't kind of do the same thing as if you're on Facebook and you see an ad, which I realize they work well, we use them. But I always feel that Facebook's core value is connection. So an ad on Facebook is semi-intrusive. An ad on Instagram is almost like, it's just another piece of content. So it's a little bit less intrusive in that way. But again, I would also defer that LinkedIn, if you're a B2B, could be excellent. We do have a lot of people we work with for lead gen on LinkedIn. It kind of depends, again, what your thing is. If you're B2B, but you're you're selling some type of a product, Instagram's great for visualization.
So let's say I'm a SaaS company and I'm thinking of doing social media, obviously B2B, I have a platform. How would I differentiate the content that I put on Instagram versus YouTube versus LinkedIn? Is there some differentiation that you do there or you put the same content throughout?
First of all, it's an excellent question. I would say that probably YouTube tutorials. Instagram would be a little more, again, kind of behind the scenes, who you are as a company, sort of the values that your company puts forth, the people within the company, so people understand it's, people It's not just machines, right? They want to feel that like, oh, he's just like me or she's just like me. So more of the personal side. And then LinkedIn, I mean, you can either have sort of a crossover of those two, or another way might be something where you're taking what was educational on YouTube, but you're specifically then changing it to target, let's say, the type of individuals that you're looking for on LinkedIn. Because I would say on LinkedIn, it's easier to find that niche, whereas YouTube, it's a little more broad. So YouTube, for instance, I'll give you the example. If I'm looking for, let's say, a SaaS program to help me with digital marketing, for argument's sake. So software as a service, I'm looking on YouTube and I find this tutorial video by said company. I now am introduced to that company because of the tutorial video. I'm looking at, so this looks really interesting and it looks pretty easy to use. Let me go look them up more. So the educational on YouTube is more for outreach to random quote unquote people, because it's harder to target except for the people following you. Whereas LinkedIn, I would say, and unless you're running it as an ad, if you're running as an ad, that's different. LinkedIn, you specifically can target easier to the person or persons that you think this education is for. So I would say that LinkedIn can be a little bit of both, but Instagram more behind the scenes, YouTube could be educational, could be more tutorial, instructional, a little bit less of like the personalized side.
So LinkedIn is a little more push and YouTube is a little more pull. People will find you there and come to your brand.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because think of YouTube, it's owned by Google, right? It's a search engine. So it's very much, I'll give you an example, which has nothing to do with tech or anything we're talking about, but like my father wanted to build a shed. So he Googled it and he got a YouTube video that told him how to build a shed. And all of a sudden now he's a fan of this guy's YouTube channel and following him because he helped him build his shed. So in the same way, it's that idea of like someone's looking for X, Google all of a sudden is suggesting something on YouTube, they learn it on YouTube, and now there's a good chance that maybe they convert and actually be a client. Whereas LinkedIn, they're not really looking for how to learn, but if you find the right person, they will learn something that, oh, that's awesome, that's right in my niche. So it's a little more, in that way, I would say niche-based for LinkedIn, whereas, like you said, pull would be YouTube, and then push would be LinkedIn for sure.
For you guys, for your company, what is a challenge that you see this year? What are you challenging with?
Well, every day there's challenges to start, but I think the biggest challenge we have actually at the moment is scaling, because while we can plug in experts for each of these different aspects, there is like myself and Jason are two of the, we'll call like the glue in the middle with everybody. And I'm in the process of trying to like replace myself in a lot of ways. And while I know how to do it, because I've done it before, it's never an easy process, because there is, I guess you can say there's so many things you're looking for in the person or persons needed to do such a job that it's not like just hiring, like for instance, I'll use Nathan as the example. So Nathan demonstrated he's awesome at Facebook ads. Fantastic. He gets results. He's great at the content. He's good at the copywriting, and he can drive leads for a client. Done. He's good and he's easy to work with. We want to work with him. We brought him in. To have someone kind of replace yourself, you start looking at more of the characteristic traits beyond even just the skill sets. And it's hard to find people that will be not a clone of you, because you don't need that, but in some ways you need someone who's similar enough that they can keep everyone moving on the same thing. So I think our biggest challenge right now is the replacing factor for myself, Jason, and then scaling specifically with that. We have some people we're working with to try and get that done. But again, it's never an easy process. It's always, you're handing over the keys to the kingdom, right? So you're very much like, oh, can you do this too? I forgot to ask you about that one thing. And then it's, oh, okay, good, you can, great. Or have you ever worked with this, or do you have skill sets with that? And then, oh, okay, well, we got to teach you this or that. So there's so many little extra things. And then of course, we're actually launching an application to help influencers monetize their brands. So with that running parallel to this and my tech company, the other biggest challenge is just balancing everything. But specifically for this company, I think that's always a big challenge. And overcoming it is just being extremely thorough in the person or persons that you're using to replace yourself. So I have certain ways that I've hired in the past, and you just add on extra things because there's more. You realize again, by handing all of this responsibility over, there's so many things that the person's gonna have to do that you really, really have to just take your time and not make any knee-jerk decisions with like, you're good enough. There's no such thing. If you're handing over the keys, it's like, no, you better be better than me. Like I want someone who's going to take this farther than I could because I'm focused on something else. And I come back, in 2 weeks and I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Love what you've done with the place,
What do you wish you knew earlier in your career?
That's a loaded question. Man, I'll try and pick like one thing because there's a lot, of course. I think, and this doesn't apply just to the digital marketing, this is all the companies. I think the biggest thing that I wish I knew when I first started getting into like the entrepreneur space, so this would have been like high school, like right after high school, I started kind of doing my own thing. I think the biggest thing is to know that you don't know, like a lot. Because when you first start out as an entrepreneur, and I probably can't speak for all, but I feel like a lot of them would resonate with the fact that the moment you have some like creative things going on, there's a little bit of an arrogance that can come with it where you're like, oh, I got this. I'm smart enough to come up with the idea. That means I'm smart enough to execute it. And that's not actually true. Along the way, the ideas you come up with will evolve and change in ways that you could never, ever envision, even if you are a visionary. And therefore, to put it in like one line, it's ask questions from the people that have already done it, read books, watch videos, and just study your ass off from everybody who has done things like this before. And if you truly are in a niche that has never been done before, which is very odd, but it's possible, then find people that are close. So I'll give an example. We're in the smartphone niche. We're doing something different, which I can't speak on completely today, but I can study smartphone manufacturers and learn what they've done. I can study people, let's say in marketing, if I'm trying to do about digital marketing, and maybe we've invented a new way to digital market. Great. So no one I can study specifically for that, but find someone close that you can learn from, get some type of mentors around you, because again, you do it for a year or so and there's no such thing as solopreneurship as far as I'm concerned. You can do it, but you basically have a job that will maybe pay you as much as your regular job, and you might not even be as happy because you'll feel swamped. So the idea of just being humble enough to say, I can map out a 30-year vision, but to get there, I'm gonna need a lot of help.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the advice and the insights.
Awesome. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me on. It's truly an honor.
I appreciate it.